Well, hey there, everybody. It's your boy, Mr. Perry, and here we are back at it. I hope you're excited. It's time to start a brand new unit, Unit 2. This lesson 1, is going to be all about using objects, and we're going to start to dive a little bit deeper into what it means for Java to be an object-oriented programming language. So let's go ahead and get into that. Java is an object-oriented programming language, which means in one sense that we create objects in our main method, and then call methods using that object to make things happen. So down here, pet Nikki equals new pet, Nikki comma 3, I'm creating a pet object. And then down here, Nikki.speak, I'm calling a method using my Nikki object. So that's, in one sense, what it means for for Java to be an object-oriented programming language. But of course, object-oriented programming basically means that before you can do anything, you have to create a class. And a class in programming is what we use to define a new abstract data type. So basically, we, like ints, booleans, and doubles and strings, we've got data types. You can actually create your own data type by creating a class. And when you write a class file, what you are creating is essentially a blueprint for the attributes and the behaviors of whatever object you are trying to simulate in your Java program. And we can think of, classes kind of like potato heads. You go to the store, you buy a potato head. All potato heads have a potato, your body. They've got eyes, a nose, a mouth, ears, hands, and feet, and then it may or may not include accessories like a hat or a mustache or a purse, etc. So potato heads, what you buy in the box is kind of like your class. It contains all of the stuff that, are common to that particular object. Now, once we have a potato head class defined, once we've written out the program code to define the potato head class, we can now create many different examples of potato head objects. We can go into our main method and we can create all kinds of different ones and give them, their own personalities and all of that kind of stuff. So an object is a specific creation from the blueprint, from the class. And an AP CSA, anytime we create an object, we call it an instance of the class. And so the title of this lesson is Instances of a Class, where we're talking about objects. Objects are an instance of a class. So the particular characteristics of an object are what we call the attributes of that object. So this is the data or the information about it. So again, you think about what are the attributes of this particular thing you're trying to simulate, and what do they all have in common? Whatever they all have in common, those are the attributes. So again, you've got your potato, your eyes, your nose, and so on and so forth. Then there are the behaviors. What can your object actually do? The behaviors of what an object can do are referred to as methods. And those are the actions that the object can take. These are also written by the programmer, so you can customize your methods. You have total control over what they can do. So for a potato head, they can pose, you can make them speak, you can make them move. So they have like behaviors, right? And those are what we call methods. All right, now doing a little bit of review of some previous concepts. Remember that commonly in Java, you have a main method, and in this case, our main method is in its own class, public class main, and then right here you see public static void main. So here's our main method, and it's residing in its own class. Main is where objects are created and where the methods are called. So right here, album1 equals new album, Kendrick Lamar, To Pimp a Butterfly, 16. Right here, album1 is the name of my album object. And then right here, where it says I'm printing album1.toString, this is going to go ahead and call that toString method. So again, where main is where objects are created and methods are called. The class file is sometimes different, sometimes separate from your main method. Remember that a class file can also contain a main method, but it's not uncommon to see a Java program where main is in its own class and that is separate from your class file. So over here, public class album, we've got private string artist, private string name, private int num songs, and then down here we have our constructor. This is the blueprint for all objects of that class. So the class file is designed to really be the blueprint that we use to create all of the objects from that class. And so when it says album 1 equals new album, Kendrick Lamar to Pimp a Butterfly 16, all of this information gets passed into our constructor over here, and all of the information that's in this class file kind of works together in order to make this program work and do what you want it to do. So let's go ahead and deconstruct this line of code that we see right here. Here we are, public static void main. So we're in our main method, and it says pet Nikki equals new pet Nikki comma 3. All right. So we're kind of dissecting what each component of this line means. So when we're creating an object or an instance of a class, let's go ahead and break this down. So the first word is pet. This is your class name. This must match the name of the class file, pet.java. So that's the first thing that you write is the name of your class. Next, Nikki. This is your object name. Here's where you use camel case instead of Pascal case like we were using before. You use camel case to give the object a unique name. This name that you give it is now a variable for the pet reference data type. When you create a class, it is now a reference data type, and Nikki is now an object of the pet class. The next thing we need is the equal sign. And so the equal sign is what we call the assignment operator. And you might remember that from when we talked about variables. So you have to use the assignment operator to initialize the variable. Then we have the word new. Now in Java, new is what's called a keyword. The new keyword tells Java that you're creating a new object and it needs to reserve memory space in order to store the data for that object. That's what the word new does. And then finally, you repeat the class name, and then this time you give it all of the information that it needs. So it's the class name again, plus what are called your arguments. This calls the constructor method and then assigns the arguments, Nikki and the number 3, to those private instance variables. So that's kind of a breakdown of what each component of a line of code like this, what it means to instantiate an object of a class. And once you have that object instantiated, you can now call methods. And we use the syntax object name dot method with parentheses. That's basically what it looks like when you are calling a method. So once you create an instance of a class, you can now call the methods in that class using the variable name, the dot operator, and then the method name followed by parentheses. So that's what you're seeing right here, Nikki.speak. I'm using my object name right here, and then there must be a speak method that has been defined inside that class file. It's very important to note that the name of the object that is instantiated must match the name of the object being used to call the method. So however you spell this, you have to make sure that you continue to spell it correctly. You've got to be consistent in how you do that. Now, we're going to take a step back and, again, just kind of remind ourselves of something important here. Objects of a class are now reference data types. They are not primitive data types. They are not assigned a fixed amount of bits in your computer's memory space. They are reserved an entire area of memory. And so very often in this class, we're going to talk about the memory location. So right here, potato head Joe equals new potato head. The object name is Joe, and the memory location is typically represented with some kind of hexadecimal code. So once I do this, the object name refers to the location in memory where the object data is stored. This is super important. You'll really want to remember this and commit this to memory, that when I say potato head Joe equals new potato head, and I pass in all of the arguments, as far as your computer is concerned in a physical sense, this memory address right here is where the word, the variable name Joe is connected to it. Joe is a pointer. It's a reference to this particular memory address. And any information that I give this object, Joe, it all gets stored in this memory location. So we're going to start doing a little bit of a recap here. The class file contains the blueprint for all objects of the class. Once you write that class file, you can then go into main and you can create objects of that class or instances of that class. So let's create a Michael object, and let's go ahead and pass in all of these arguments as what Michael can do. All of this data is now stored in this memory location, and the variable name Michael is going to refer to that. It's going to be kind of a pointer to that memory location. And then the same thing happens over here. If I create another potato head object called Gene, and this is all of the data associated with that object, all of this information is stored at this other location. Notice it's got a different memory address than our Michael object. So every object gets its own unique area of memory reserved for it in your computer. And again, that's where all of that object data gets stored. So data for each object of the class is assigned to a different area in memory, and then the object name is associated with that memory address. They are linked together. And then finally, when you get into CSAwesome, you're going to play around a little bit with the turtle class. And the turtle class has some stuff kind of built into it. So first off, you can create an object of the turtle class. The turtle class has attributes. So these are the attributes. It's you can give it a name. It's got color. It's got a size. It's got a width and a height. And then it keeps track of its X position and its Y position. The turtle class also has methods, behaviors, or functions that you can call. And so you can make it move forward, backward, turn left, turn right. You can make it draw stuff. And then again, there's some other ones that you can utilize down here as well. And then each turtle object can use these attributes and these methods. And so this is some of the program code that you'll see in CSAwesome when you're working with the turtle class. And I just kind of want to break this down with you. So world equals new world. So first thing, this constructs a world object of the world class. Notice the capital W there and the lowercase w here. And your turtle needs to have a world to inhabit. So that's the first thing that you're going to see. Next, turtle Yurtle equals new turtle, and then world is being passed in as the argument here. Turtle Myrtle equals new turtle, and again, world is being passed in here. What we're doing here is we are instantiating two objects of the turtle class, one called Yurtle and one called Myrtle. Then you get down here and you can see Yurtle forward, Yurtle turn left. We are using the Yurtle object to call methods using the dot operator. That's what the period is referred to. And then down here, Myrtle turn right, Myrtle forward. This uses the Myrtle object to call methods using, again, that dot operator. You always have the object name, the dot operator or the period, and then the method name. Finally, world.showTrue. What this does is it uses our world object that you created right here, and it calls the show method, which basically lets you see your turtles. It's going to bring them up and it's going to let you see what they're actually doing. So just a quick explanation of what all of this means, but hopefully it looks similar to a lot of what we've been talking about in this lecture video. All right, well, it's lesson review time, my friends. Java is an object-oriented programming language. meaning that the programmer must instantiate objects of a class in order to call methods and make things happen. When you instantiate an object of a class, you follow syntax, which is the name of the class, then the object name, then the equal sign, the keyword new, then you repeat the class name again, and then in parentheses, you give it your arguments. This is the general format for instantiating the object of any class. Object name dot method name with parentheses followed by a semicolon is the general format for calling a method once an object has been created. And then the class file is where the blueprint for a class is defined. The main method, which may or may not be included in the class file, is where the objects of that class are instantiated and where you can call methods. So with that, we're going to go ahead and wrap things up. I want to thank you guys for watching the video. As always, make sure you leave a question or a comment for us to go over in class, and I will see you in class.